Success in the NFL. You've worked with some great guys like Matt Ryan. What have you learned about him and his approach to quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to put it is he's old school, and it's a blessing to have him again. The first time, it was a little bit different dynamic, but in the position I am now, it's nice to have him and almost being coached the way that those pros were, like Matt Ryan and stuff like that, Jameis Winston. So it's nice to have that, tool that's helping me, like, my success further on, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I'm sure you've had plenty of quarterback coaches in the past. Is there anything that he does differently that really stands out to you?
I mean, not much, right? All quarterback coaches are very similar in a way, but I think the knowledge that he brings to the game, it's unlike most with the experience that he has. So that's one thing that I would say about Coach Cutter that's a blessing, is the way that he brings so much knowledge to the game that I've had, but I haven't had it to this extent.
You've obviously fought since the moment you got on campus. You've been in a number of different roles. Right now, you're out there running the Blues, and Spencer told us you would be to start camp. What does that mean to you? What's this opportunity been like for you?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was talking to Coach D the other day. Like, it's a little bit different situation. I feel like my whole life, that's all I've done, right, is kind of compete for the guy above me, and it's a different situation now, is the best way to put it. But I also think it's a blessing to be able to, like, be in the position I am and, like, go out there with those guys every day and just compete at the high level that we are. I mean, those defensive guys, especially the ones guys, I mean, those guys are flying around. They're playing good ball right now. So it's awesome to be able to out there and have fun like that and compete at the high level.
How do you own this opportunity, Maddux? I mean, like, we all do know that it's still, competition to some degree at the very least. So how do you own this opportunity? What do you need to do to put yourself in a position to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, it's the best, like, position for the team to win, right? Like, how can we take care of the ball? Obviously, I'm gonna have this conversation with Coach Cutter the other day. Like, we're gonna have an elite run game. I mean, you can't leave that out of the picture. But when we go throw the ball, how are we gonna be able to make smart decisions and keep the ball in our hands so we can further drives and go down and score and put the team in the best situation? So on my hand, it's like, how can I make the correct decision, put the ball in the right place, and do those things simply, right?
How important?
A lot of fans, media, whatever, just see Malka come in with his hype in the start and say, oh, he's going to be the starter. And Dirk said you can definitely tell you had, like, kind of a chip on your shoulder, be like, hey, I've done some things here, I've played here, don't forget about me. Like, how have you kind of approached camp and this competition, from that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, like I was just telling Jay, it's different. I've never really experienced it, and it's definitely a learning experience for myself, because there's times where I'm like, I mean, like you said, I'm here, right? So it is a little different, and I'm trying to approach it the best way I possibly can, but still figuring it out. That's a good way to put it.
Do you feel like you've done enough in the past in games and on tape and stuff that you're not getting enough credit at times?
I mean, here and there, right? I mean, there's mistakes I've made, but there's also plays I've made, so it's hard to judge that in a way.
You're a team guy first, but do you feel like you're the best guy to lead this football team, this offense right now, knowing that things could change? But as we sit right now, are you the guy?
Yeah, I mean, and that's, for personally, I'm not going to say no, right? But that's in the coach's hands, where I feel like I got to play better right now, especially. So it's like, for myself, I'm never going to say no, but leading those guys out there and just getting better day by day will help.
Where do you think you have to get better?
I mean, like I said, turn the ball over. That's a main thing right now, but also just, like, making the plays that should be made in a simple way. Yeah.
Experience. How important is it in a quarterback competition? Like, how much are you able to rely on that in your current day-to-day competition against Malachi? Do you have a massive leg up there?
Yeah, I mean, experience is always a big thing. I've never really been like the one that's had this experience. I mean, you can say experience, but I've only played so many snaps, right? And so the experience is nice to have in a way, but I would say it's not this huge thing that's kind of stepping me above it, right? I mean, some say it will be, but it's really just like, I'm playing football, and I've played football at this level for a little bit, and experience is a good way to put it, but it's also, like, I wouldn't say it's a huge, like, this major thing to be stepping on.
Well, Malachi's been here for about 8 months now. What have you learned about him on and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, he's a funny person. He's definitely different in a good way. I'm not saying that a bad thing. He's funny. He's funny to be around. He's, like, a good person to hang out with and stuff. But I also think that he's kind of gotten after a little bit, to where, like, when he first came in, seeing that from, like, 8 months now has been a massive change, right? Like, he's understanding things a little bit better and, like, all those things. So seeing him grow in this system has been awesome, and, like, understand that this, like, is a blue collar mentality, and he has, so it's good.
There might not be a position in sports that has, more on their plate than QB1, or a bigger responsibility than QB1. What is it about that position, that title, that you like?
Yeah, I mean, quarterback in general, right? But let alone Boise, Idaho. I mean, Boise State Broncos the biggest thing here, so I enjoy it. I enjoy having like people rely on me in a way, you know, like it's a good type of pressure to where I have like there's expectations being held for me, and I know personally I have higher expectations than that, so it's a good thing to have, and I wouldn't say anything negative about it.
How well do you know this offense? How confident are you? I mean, you've been here this is your third year, obviously, at Boise State, so how well do you know this offense? How confident are you in your abilities right now?
Yeah, I mean, confidence-wise comes from that preparation. I feel like that's a big thing that I put forth in my efforts is like preparation. I feel like confidence-wise, I'm at a high level understanding this like terminology in the playbook. And the offense itself, like personnel, especially like all those things, I feel like I got a high confidence level in.
I know we joked about your dad a little bit, but from the time you were like a Utah Valley bat boy to playing golf with your dad yesterday, what has he meant to you and as a person and as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, talk about like a lifelong mentor, right? Coming from a coach, he understands the Division I level of sports. So it's been nice to have him kind of, I guess, like his knowledge in a different way. If he knows how college athletes are, he's experienced it for such a long level. But also on the flip side, he's just my dad. So it's like good to have someone that cares about me and like I could go talk to about in so much relation, especially your sports. But like I always know he's gonna be one of my biggest fans, so I can go yap at him and he'll be on my side. So that's a good thing.
Are you his favorite son?
I think so.
Not going at all or not being full go in spring ball, you know, do you feel a little more pressure here in fall that, you know, this is your one chance to truly show what you can do?
Yeah, I mean, not being full go in spring was unfortunate, but in ways it's not. I'm not gonna let that put so much pressure on myself when it comes to fall camp because I've been in positions where like we're at right now, like in real life games. So I'm not gonna try and build myself up this big pressure like this is my only shot, right? Like I feel like I've got this. I feel like I've been here long enough to where it's like I'm not gonna let one fall camp pressurize me into being something I'm not. So that's the challenge day by day is just kind of playing as myself, not trying to do too much.
What's the difference between Maddux Madsen and the Mad Dog?
I mean, I wouldn't say anything different. I thought I was going to lose that when I got to college, but I guess it's still here, so Mad Dog's just my name.
Where did it come from?
I honestly have zero idea. I know my dad was called in high school a little bit, and then he probably knew what he was doing naming me Maddux. So.
What did your offseason look like? What are some of the things you did to put yourself in a position to kick off fall camp as in the best situation possible?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, the speed of the game's different when you get into full pads, one-on-ones, like it's different. So when it comes to off-season terms, like first and foremost, how can I get myself healthy? Like as healthy as I am, there's still a lot to go, right? Like I know I got to get stronger in certain things, but in terms of like preparing myself with wide receivers, tight ends, it was nice to have guys that wanted to throw. That's the one thing I will say is, like I love when guys come up to me and is like, hey, let's go throw today. And that's the speed of the game that I'm talking about, like timing, anticipation, all those things that a lot of people miss out on. But when it comes to off season, that's good to have.
You mentioned earlier that going into camp as the guy is kind of a new experience for you. How much during your whole career have you embraced that underdog role, and how much has that been a benefit to you?
I think it's helped immensely. I mean, we talk about the chip on the shoulder mentality, and it's not like it's gone, but it's like I really need that because it helps, right? Like you're almost not as pressured like getting caught from behind, but instead you're working forward for something.
So how do you keep the chip there?
I mean, that's tough, but it's a personal thing, right? Like, hey, I gotta, and now I guess it's like, how can I be the best version of myself? Like, how can I go out and like make plays I've never made before, but in a simple way where it's like, I'm just getting better.
What type of confidence does it give you? I don't remember the last snap I saw anybody other than you take with the ones, just to have that confidence knowing that kind of that's been your squad day in, day out. Does that help in a quarterback competition?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. You're working with the highest level of guys at the like highest speed. So I think personally that's a big confidence builder for me. I mean, having those guys around me to help is a big thing for me.
What's important for you and what's important for this offense during Saturday scrimmage?
I mean, I think offensive-wise, I know I've said it, but we got to keep the ball in our hands. That's a big thing that we're going to get into games. We got a good enough defense, but if we can keep our offense on the field, scoring touchdowns, scoring points itself, that's going to be a big thing. So that is kind of goes hand in hand for offenses and myself. I mean, it starts with me, like how can I keep the ball in our hands? So I think we'll get after it. We're making improvements for sure, and we still got to get a lot better, but we will.
How good is this receiving core?
Last two.
I mean, our receiving core is awesome. Talk about talent, and it's like Malachi says, you got guys that have played big-time ball. But also you can't forget like Latrell and Bolt and Prince. Like those guys are playing good. I mean, all those guys. Ben Ford, the young guys is what's impressed me. I mean, you look at Cam Bates' camp. He's having a heck of a camp, and it's fun to see. I mean, we've got depth in that position, so it's unlike any other year that I've been here, right? Like we've had guys in the past that have been good. But this year it's more so like how many guys, like all those guys aren't going to be able to play, but when stuff hits the fan, it's like we're going to have guys that can go in and play and make plays for us for sure.
Just fall camp in general. Like, what comes to mind? I mean, obviously the first couple of days are fun, and then you guys are about to hit the grind, and then you'll be rewarded by game week, after that. But just fall camp in general, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think the first few days, it's like, yay, football's back. But then as those days get really long, really fast, and it's trying to keep this super high positive energy. And unlike years in the past, I think guys are out here and enjoying it a lot more. I mean, guys' bodies are starting to get beat up, which it happens, right? You're out there playing physical every day. So I think now towards the end of camp, and I say the end of camp, but we're only halfway through, but the second half of camp, like getting after it still continuously, but also knowing on the flip side, like we're getting into season, so that's something to look forward to.
Chocolate or strawberry milk?
Chocolate. Chocolate for sure.